If you want your child to grow, your child to grow, your child to grow. If you want your child to grow, give him a jar of porter. Tora-lora, lora-la, tora-lora, lora-la, tora-lora, lora-la, give him a jar of porter. Well, hello there, and welcome to Ffilm Craic, where myself, Nicholas O'Shenanigans, and himself, Clive Cupon-Tay, talk about films that have fallen through the cracks, so to speak. And, so when you think of the martial arts film, you tend to think of like 4 places, right, in the world. You'd think of maybe Taiwan, Hong Kong, Japan, and the town of Trim in County Meath. So yes. We'll be talking
the Cholet Brothers studio.
yes. Jean-Claude Van Damme. So yes, we're talking about two movies.
I still can't quite get my head around a genuine Irishman doing a crap Irish accent.
Oh yeah. It adds to the whole yes, whatever the hell it is I'm doing. So yeah, basically, we're talking about 2 kung fu films made in Ireland.
Kickboxing films, to be fair.
Okay, fine, sure. Kickboxing films made in Ireland, just a few years apart. One is a film called Fatal Deviation, which is we'll talk about this in just a second. The other is Moving Target, which stars Don the Dragon Wilson, made in
hell of a middle name his parents gave him.
yeah.
He's never without it. You never hear him referred to as because if they said Don Wilson, you'd go, huh? Who's that now? Yeah, because it's such a generic name, I suppose.
Yes, but nobody's gonna mistake Don the Dragon.
No.
But yes. Anyway, so basically, so we're gonna talk about.
We will be talking. It came from CONNEMARA.
CONNEMARA. Yep. Yes, a documentary which explains at least how the second film we're going to talk about, how Moving Target.
Yeah, there's no explanation for the first time.
Well, there kind of is, but yes, Fatal Deviation.
I still don't know what that title actually means.
No. When it finally does show up in the movie, it's very far into the running time and has not been established in any way. It's just a very watery-eyed, roomy old monk drunk saying "Fatal Deviation, Fatal Deviation, Fatal Deviation," while Jimmy.
I probably shouldn't be thinking too much about it, but I was wondering what has, I'm assuming, our main character deviated from, and how is it fatal? I'm not quite.
Well, the thing is, when you Google Fatal Deviation, you mostly come up with botched nose jobs, like deviated septums and stuff like that. So,
right.
But I don't
died from in their sleep.
Yeah,
can't breathe properly or something.
Yes, yeah. So, but I don't think this is about deviated septums at all. So,
unless it's a very clever reference to, he smashed people's noses in with his kickboxing,
right?
And then they've died from fatal deviation.
Deviation, yeah.
It's just one of those titles that's super generic in a way, like like Revenging Vengeance or something like that.
Right.
But it's just, if you get to thinking about it, like.
Yep. It seems to be possibly the name of the move that he does at that point, but then we never saw him practicing it. We never heard it called that before. He suddenly pulls out this combo at the moment after that.
Is this the one when he's doing his training scenes on oil drums and
yes,
slice tree trunks away?
Yes. We should maybe explain a little bit of backstory to this, and you can find a decent amount about the making of this movie by kind of doing a deep dive on the internet. There's been some good videos. There's one I found by a group that mostly seemed to talk about wrestling. But they did a bunch of Irish guys who did a very good take on the film that I watched yesterday. But anyway, probably
Ireland's first martial arts film, right?
Yes, Ireland's first martial arts, and truly the only one that's directed by and written by an Irish person. Like so Moving Target, while it is made in Ireland, it's it's a remake of a previous like a scene for scene remake of a previous Dawn the Dragon Blood Fist movie, and it's I don't think the director is Irish.
Well, I don't know, because no, Paul Zilla is certainly not. I don't know, but yeah, apparently a remake of Blood Fist 4, right? But I was looking at have you seen Blood Fist 4?
No,
I haven't seen Blood Fist 4, and I was looking at the plot synopsis, right? And it seems like it's another object with something hidden inside that goes missing.
Yes.
There's a car in that film, and then I was thinking, there's a million of these films where something that the bad guys want. So I'm wondering, it's so generic. I'm not sure if Moving Target counts as a remake, unless what you're right about this shot-by-shot thing.
Well, I'm just thinking, because in the documentary, which we'll get to at the end, there's an interview with Dawn the Dragon, not about that film, but about an earlier film, which he says they got to Ireland and they were like, oh, we don't have time to write a script, just remake that movie we just made. And so
no, absolutely. But I wanted to stress that isn't exactly unique. I mean, I'm guessing
yes, as a premise,
Blood Fist series is,
right?
One's probably a remake of Bloodsport or Enter the Dragon, and another one's probably a remake of blah blah blah.
Right.
Au fait with, I think I've only seen one or two of the Blood Fist series.
So we'll jump back to Jimmy P. Benet, which he goes by now, apparently.
Right, it's not Bennett.
Yes. Oh, it is Bennett, but that's not what he goes by anymore, apparently. He now goes by Jimmy P. Benet.
Classy dude is our Jimmy P.
Yes. Well, he lives in the States now, and he's had somewhat of a continuing career.
Respectable second string action man career, right? He's in things. He's in some Van Damme movies, and
he's in 4 of them, I think, and there's photographs of him online with his arms around Van Damme on one side and Schwarzenegger on the other. So I assume he was possibly at least around the set when they were doing Expendables and things like that. Or
he'd run up behind them and jumped on them, and the next shot is them getting, get the fuck off, Benny.
Yeah, possibly. But anyway, so the legend of Fatal Deviation is that Jimmy P. Bennett heard that there were some Chinese investors interested in him maybe doing something in Hong Kong. And so he makes this film as basically as a calling card, as a like, look, I can do the martial arts, I can be a leading man. So there's that's a piece of this, right? And I think that's probably accurate. Although it's funny, like he didn't take the Toby Russell approach of just like move there.
It would have been post handover, right? So it wouldn't have been the pit just rocking up to a British territory. But then again, as an Irish person, would that have?
I'm not sure.
Yeah,
but in any
also worth mentioning though, it didn't work for him, at least in that way. But another guy in the cast, Colin Hamilton, who's the guy who plays Seagull, he ended up having a small part in Gen Y Cops, the Gen X Cops.
He's freaking huge. Is Seagull? Yeah. But the thing that's maybe more interesting to me is what I read elsewhere, which is that apparently Trim, County Meath, which is a little town north of Dublin, is where they shot chunks of Braveheart. There is a medieval...
I have never actually seen.
Okay. So they filmed pieces of it in the Irish countryside. There is an old there's a monastery there which shows up in
so that would have been 2 years previous to this, Braveheart, 96, something like that.
Yeah. And apparently the whole town went movie mad, and everyone had a bit in the movie, and it was great crack for everyone.
Are you saying that basically Fatal Deviation is the Irish version of the film they make in Peru in the last movie with bamboo cameras and things?
I think so. I think maybe. And so So yeah, so apparently everyone in town was kind of like quite excited when Jimmy came along and was like, "I'm going to make Ireland's first, martial arts film here in Trim, where he's from." And then, interesting enough, great connection to our friend Cliff Twemlow. So the main director credited, Shay Casserly, was a wedding video.
Ah, okay, right.
Guy, who had no experience before this in making a narrative.
Obviously needs to write a book about the number of people who came out of wedding videos and went on to
make shot-on-video action films.
Yeah, there's probably more than you think, right? I mean, if you've got the equipment, I bet there's at least half a dozen others you could fill out this book with, right? And quite a fascinating read, actually. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, if this is anything to judge, if this and Twemlow are anything to judge by, then yeah. So this all, So basically, a bunch of non-actors, for the most part. The only person who would have had any visibility in Ireland before this came out is the guy who plays Mikey, the villain, or one of the sub-villains, right? Because he was a member of the band
Boyzone.
Yes.
A band that the credits laughingly refer to as a rock band.
A rock band, yes.
Yeah, I don't know
and if you're not in the know, Boyzone are Ireland's second best boy band.
Right. After, who's the first?
Westlife, of course.
A One Direction, not Irish.
No, sorry.
Oh, really?
Them fellas are English.
How much I know about. Clearly,
you're an
expert in this world.
And so some of my, so Michael Regan.
Hang on.
Go on. Yeah.
Would Westlife be considered more popular than, or more successful than Boyzone?
I think so. Yeah. I think didn't one of their members marry into like rich, like the Irish aristocracy, basically, like married into like a well-connected political family. Anyway,
if you know,
so pretty much,
keep it yourself.
Yes, yeah, I don't care.
Yeah.
And so basically, a lot of the people in the movie either are obviously they're just locals that he was able to convince to be in the movie, or in some cases like the guy who is my favorite person in the whole movie, Lachlan, who is the lead villain.
Yes, Michael Regan. He's my favorite as well because he has a very precise line delivery, doesn't he?
Yes, it's mostly right into the camera, for one thing.
But he enunciates everything, right? He never contracts anything.
Yep. Now I will kill you.
Yeah, and he turns up in the, because there's a blooper reel at the end as well, which is a lot more fun than most blooper reels are, right?
Yes.
Quite charming.
Yes.
Particularly like the guy being kicked over a very small wall, and then going like, "I'm not fucking doing that again."
His neck. Yes. Yeah. Yes, and then of course, one of the movie's other big claims to fame is the spectacular car accident, which is not intentional.
Right.
Just Jimmy driving down a straight road and somehow rolling his car while the camera's rolling, and they're like, "Holy shit!" and kept filming it.
I also quite like the naked kick jumping out of a bathtub.
Apparently, he was one of the producers.
Oh, okay.
So him and actually Mr. Lachlan, they were two of the biggest money people in it. So that's great to think that basically he was like, "Oh yes, I would love to be in a movie.
Right.
I'll give you the money."
So basically Jimmy Benet, as I suppose we should refer to him now.
Yes, well, if that's his preferred. Yeah.
Basically plays a guy out of a film school, goes back to his hometown. He deviates fatally, maybe.
Yep.
And local gangsters try and get him on their side, but he's not having any of it. And he falls for the girl of Boyzone man. He doesn't like that. And then also, what I like about this film is the fact that so our lead character has these flashbacks about being bullied, right? But
Oh, that's great. Yes, yes.
There's you almost have no sympathy from the get-go, because
Yep.
you'd think that his bullying has kind of, maybe kind of have a somewhat sympathy for the underdog. But no. Basically, he's back to punch everyone in the face really hard. Like they don't even have to do that much to trigger him.
No,
He's like kicking people in the face and just like, dude, leave him alone.
Jen watched the first 30 minutes of it with me the second time I was watching it, and she was like, "This." I thought like martial artists were supposed to like de-escalate situations, but he immediately escalates any situation he walks into and takes it to the furthest place it can go.
He's a total thug.
Yeah.
He's kind of like Ray Winston coming out at the end of Scum, I would imagine. He was like
yes. Yeah. So I mean, he comes out. I mean, that's great too, because that's clearly just like the local like convent school or whatever, and then they've pasted a piece of colored printout paper with Reform School on it.
Yeah.
And then his room is full. It's just like 8 pictures of Jean-Claude Van Damme on the wall in his room, and then there's the one of his dad, I guess, that he takes with him. And then when he goes back to like the family house, but it seems like it's like a piece of a barn, and he kind of jimmies some like corrugated metal off the thing and then turns over some furniture. And I was laughing because the guys who were watching it, these other Irish guys, were like, "This is," he said, they're like, "Ireland likes to present itself like it's Dublin, but he's like, but they're like, this is very real and this is very uncomfortable to watch, because like this is most of Ireland, is that awful shitty room that Jimmy Benet is trying to turn over the old stanky couch and stuff." And then I'm
not allowed to say all this, so you go ahead.
Yeah. The scene
when it gets to the first Welsh martial arts film, I'll be all over.
I'm looking for. Please, if somebody doesn't make it, you should, Clive. But so he goes to Londis, like the supermarket, and that scene, like these 2 middle-aged jobs.
Yes.
Like the one guy was like almost bald, and the other guy running around like
shell suits.
Like they're like 8 or 9 years old. Like that was just that was the point where I was like, oh my God, like I'm in the vicinity of genius. Like this is fabulous. I was killing myself laughing.
And again, it escalates. It's like, why don't you leave the lady alone? And who are you? And then fucking boom,
right in the balls.
Yeah,
and so accomplishes what she specifically said, like, stop your messing. You're gonna knock over me paper towels.
Yes.
And then immediately he kicks the guy through them.
Yeah, but she's all over him she's into this extremely violent. I'm guessing a few years down the line, this relationship's broken down. She's a victim of domestic violence, and he's on.
He does seem to have anger management issues for sure.
Is maybe like GBH2 is a much darker film, right?
There is apparently a triple deviation in the works, according to Jimmy Benet. So
triple deviation now.
Yes.
What happened to double?
Well, he started with final, so I don't know where you go if your first one was the last one.
No, it's fatal. It's not final.
Oh, fatal. You're right. It's not final. Yeah. So why didn't he go with final deviation then? Or maybe that's going to be the third one.
Well, no. Where's double deviation before triple? Walk before you can run.
So I also wonder, maybe he's so angry partly because his circulation has been cut off by wearing his pants so high, right? His whole like he doesn't move like at all. He's extremely stiff.
There's something a bit Alex Winter about him as well.
Yep. So you said that the scene where again moments later he seems to get in another fight with the other 2 lads who are trying to get Nicola to go off, like they're trying to intervene on Mickey's behalf or Mikey's behalf, like you're making us look bad in front of Mikey. That's not good.
He's also very non-spiritual as well, right? Because he's only interested in the monks after they invite him to go to a big fight, right? Like the first time he encounters the monks say something vaguely mystical to him, and he just goes, "Oh, let's go. This man's talking bollocks."
Yes. Although he does have that big Buddha for some reason in the house. I guess that's his dad's Buddha. Yes,
because his dad. Yeah, it turned out he was the first of this weird monk. What is this monk's back? I want to see the prequel about the monk.
Yes.
Because
agreed.
Correct me if I'm wrong here, but you don't actually get Trappist monks like this, even in deepest, darkest Ireland. Do you anymore hanging around medieval castles and?
No. I mean, there were Franciscan monks in Ireland for sure, but I don't know that they ever wore the brown robes with the white rope around the middle, and they're certainly not. I don't think they're very active anymore, and they certainly weren't Shaolin, because that's what's most mysterious about this is this grafting of the martial arts monk thing into the rural Irish.
And what's that instrument he's playing?
Oh, that's a not a baron. That's the uilleann pipes, which are a kind of an Irish.
The noise apparently that we hear on the soundtrack, right? That's
no.
Right.
But they're a bagpipesy kind of a thing, but yeah.
Right. But no, as soon as the monk, I mean, this is fun from the beginning, really. And as soon as the monk turns up, to be honest, the most boring aspect of this film, for me at least, and it doesn't last too long, is actually the tournament, where it's just fighting for 5-10 minutes. That was a yawn for me, really.
Yes, yeah.
But the rest of it is just fucking, it's grand, isn't it?
Well, as I said, you know, a lot of people, like that thing I listened to, those fellas from the OSW whatever show, they all at the end they were all quite down on, like they were like, oh, this is a 1 out of 10 or a 2 out of 10. But all of them also said, but I feel strangely protective about this movie and about this.
It's definitely in the wheelhouse of so bad it's good. It's there, but it's not quite that either. There's a lot of good, like it's not, I didn't sneer at this film.
No.
I had a lot of goodwill towards this film.
Yes. It's very charming. There's a feeling of it. And there's a part actually, again, which the other guys mentioned, which again jumped out of me when he goes to the they go to the fun park or whatever. They go to like the, you know,
and the dodgems.
Yeah. And one of the guys said, like, I was expecting to hear an announcement about the tunnel of goats. And I was like, oh yeah, like this does feel like a movie made not by the actors in Father Ted, but the characters in Father Ted. If the people of Craggy Island, you know, like
the Kung Fu film. Absolutely.
Yeah. This is what it would be. But
I was half expecting them to pan across, and they'd have the ladder and some man shouting, "Keep your hands on the sides!"
Exactly. And then there's a guy who he's just in the movie for a split second. He's probably like 15. He's wearing an Umbro shirt and his hair is plastered down this fringe. Yeah. And I was like, he spent all morning getting the hair ready because he was so excited about getting to be in Fatal Deviation.
And you could put him in an encyclopedia, I'm guessing County Meath 1998.
Yeah. That's your it's mad. The movie is mad. It just
and it's only like 76 minutes as well.
Yes, which I also appreciated. It doesn't outstay its welcome.
Including the great blooper reel with Michael Reagan showing us his acting chops and
yes.
Yeah,
I just love
bit, the man
over and over again the poor guy, you know, like it's a question, like Bennett? Bennett.
Just, It's also, it is worth mentioning that the action's not bad, and particularly some of the stunt work. And you see in the blooper, you see him like with something down his back, right?
Yes, Jimmy Square Arse.
Yeah, the only thing between him and those sharp rocks as he goes careering down that hill, and so you know he's
a bit of wood maybe or something that he stuck down the back of his pants. Yeah,
the ballsy. No, it's more so than that guy who fell over a very small wall.
Yes, apparently one of my favorite
into it, like, oh yeah, I can do stunts, no problem.
he seemed quite upset. And then
It was great. He was such a wuss. The smallest wall you could imagine. Hey, I'm going to do that again. And really serious, not even laughing about it. Just
no.
as if his life had been a ditch.
And I did. So the fella who shows up right near the end of the movie steps out of the trailer in his tiny Speedos and his cowboy hat, and then gets into that bathtub. That brought me back to Mad Foxes as well. That has to be maybe the filthiest bathtub after. I thought Mad Foxes was the filthiest bathwater.
Came to mind.
Yeah, but he gets in the bath. Apparently, if you've seen the movie, like the bathwater is being heated by an actual fire underneath it. I guess he burned himself, unsurprisingly, because he got into a metal bathtub.
Is that what happens when you heat metal with fire? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So just brilliant. And then you've got.
That would be a double. Watch Fetal Deviation. If it's a bit too highbrow for you, go straight into Mad Foxes and
yes.
Yeah.
I mean, a couple of last few things to mention. I mean, I do. Mikey is really trying. Like he's really trying to act, and that's something that is a little bit sad. I mean, he obviously.
The thing is, I don't think he's awful. I've seen much
he's not
acting. It's just it's such a precise line delivery. That's the only thing. It's definitely noticeable, but it's not bad exactly. It's just
No. I mean, I think he would have had the most on screen. I mean, being a member of Boys Only, would have been on TV lots. So he does have a little bit more.
Oh, sorry, we're talking different mics.
Oh no, yeah, no. Like, no, you're thinking about, yes. No, he's brilliant. That guy is, oh man.
The Boys On fella. I had no thoughts about it. He was all right. Yeah, he's all right.
Yeah. But I mean, like, it's just funny because he really is. He's really giving it his all. Like, he's really.
I'm guessing he didn't write the horrible soppy music you hear in this. Right?
I don't think so. No, you got to live life.
Boys were bad. If you don't like that kind, or maybe they're quite good if you like that kind of thing, but not that bad, right?
No. And again, Matty Finnegan, who I think plays the head monk, is, yeah.
Really, I have Johnny Murray down as.
Oh, maybe head monk then is the one who is in this, because there's two of them, right? There's the one who is the announcer,
yes.
The only rule is there are no
rules. Yes.
Right. I mean, it begs certain questions about Trim County Meath, right? So, for example, it's intimated in the movie that if you win this tournament, you become head of Trim County Meath, right? Like of the town or something like that. So that's interesting because a lot of people seem to die in this tournament. Yeah. Like several people's necks are broken.
But the locals are really into it. That's the best bit about the tournament is whenever they cut.
Go on.
Yeah.
Go on. Yes.
Bloodthirsty lot.
Yeah, that's yes. And then it's a lawless town. There's no Gardaí. Where are the police?
I'm going nowhere near County Meath. It's,
yeah. It's
because even the upstanding vigilantes will kick you in the face for the smallest thing. So
yeah. Oh, they'll shoot yes. a clearly defenseless confused old man at point blank in the face.
Yes. While also saying, "I'm gonna kill you like I killed your son."
Yes.
Like, oh, that's
that whole exchange is brilliant. It's so succinct. It really boils the whole movie down to
it's a brutal movie in some ways.
Yeah. No.
So there we go.
Fatal Deviation. I strongly recommend it. So it's findable. So it fits the film crack definition quite well because it actually is very difficult to find on DVD.
Yes.
And it was originally released on VHS and DVD, and then it disappeared for a long time. People were desperate. It was talked about in hushed tones, and you couldn't find it.
Right, and unfortunately, we couldn't have him on here. We did invite him because,
yes,
I do want to hear this story. So
me too.
Our good mate Darren was at the world premiere of Fatal Deviation, which must have been around the time that maybe it was just after I left the UK. No, I left in '99. So, but I don't remember Darren going to the world premiere of Fatal Deviation.
Of Ireland's first.
Yeah, so I'm
film.
kind of curious about that. Maybe
I would love to know more.
Yeah.
Was there a Q&A with Jimmy Benet? And yeah, I'd love to know.
Where was it?
Yeah.
I'm guessing maybe the horse hospital, maybe. I don't know why I think that. But yeah, anyway we might follow up.
Yes, I think so. Anyway, it's very easily findable on YouTube, and then watch the film. Watch the film first yourself. In fact, I should have said at the beginning of all of this, I should have said, go away, watch the film, and come back and watch the rest of this. Too late. But and then you might even have some fun going through some of the other takes on the film, because it's a much loved. As I said, I also feel very protective about it. There is something like, I've been recommending it to all my friends and family this week. We'll see if they follow up.
If they don't like it, I will kick them violently in the face.
Yes. You didn't like this film, so now I will kick you in the face.
Big bollocks.
Oh, there's that last thing. There's a weird, so there's a fight in the and this is one reason maybe actually to watch that OSW or whatever it is. I should probably find out what that is. Sake of saying it anyway. That so there's at the very end of it, I guess a couple of years ago, Jimmy Benet was back in Trim, gathered together the entire cast and recreated the fight scene in the bar.
Oh, okay.
With the pushing the guy up against the wall and all that stuff. But then there's that line where the barman pulls out the gun and is like, "Get out of here, you tully arse fuck," or something like that. And even the other Irish guys in the thing were like, what's
a tully arse?
Tully arse? Like, what is it? And then someone was like, well, Tullamore is like the next town over.
Right.
Like, is this some sort of like racist?
It's a very specific. Yeah. I mean, I can relate. I mean, as small as the village that I come from, we would lord our metropolitan ways over the even more, Stone Age farming community just over the hill. Yeah. Well,
I wondered if you would like this in part because this is so much a product of rural. Of our part of the world, really, and again, the brass balls on everyone involved in being like, we are going to make a feature length or pretty close to feature length martial arts. So I mean, all the John Woo stuff, with like
the double gun action,
and the riding on top of the Mission Impossible 2 scene on top of the motorbike,
the motorcycle scene was a bit that was a up until then I didn't realize he had a gun. That kind of surprised me. And again, she's like, she's creaming her jeans as he's
she's fine with, he can kill everyone in Trim as far as she's concerned. I mean,
it must be a very well populated county. I think he killed half of them.
Yes. One of my favorite scenes is the part where he jumps and just kicks and also when those guys on the dirt bike show up, they don't announce themselves as working for Lachlan or anything. He just again,
they could have been farmers just surveying their land, right? And he's like, fuck your fucking farm.
Swings around a tree and kicks the guy right in the face. And then the great scene where he picks up the motorcycle helmet and is like, for puffs, and then throws it away.
Agriculture.
Like, Jimmy P. Benet. Anyway, we can only hope that triple deviation becomes a thing at some point in the next year or two, and we can come back to this. So anyway, there's that. We've got that. We've talked about that. Everyone should see that, post haste.
Yes. But they should maybe not see Moving Target from a couple of years later. An Oirish US co-production.
Yep.
Directed and written by that hack Paul Ziller. So a Roger Corman production from his
last one, actually, from this period of time in which he had a studio in the west of Ireland.
Is it his last one? Because I know it's Don the Dragon Wilson's last one, right? He did for Corman.
Apparently, it's the last. I mean, on the Wikipedia page for this movie, it says this was the last before they shut down basically the studio.
A bit difficult to judge, I suppose, because I think I'm guessing they were released, you know, whenever, kind of out of sequence, and so the last one they would have done production-wise.
Right.
Yes. So
which, as we mentioned earlier, is possibly a remake of one of the Bloodfist 4. I mean, really, it's not great by any stretch of the imagination. But there's a couple of things that that's going for it. One of them is if you kind of if you forget that the whole MacGuffin thing, you know, about that there's supposed to be detonators in this six-pack of Beamish, because they almost never mention that there are. It seems like a very hyper violent and kind of intense movie about a guy who steals another man's six-pack, and then if you just on that level, like all there's a lot of dialogue back and forth about like, you took my fucking beer, like, you know, and like, it's my beer, and it's just I could see in Ireland, in Galway, that maybe being like, that could have just been they didn't need to do all the other stuff. They didn't. You didn't need all the nuclear detonators hidden in this.
Where they cut out all the IRA and Russia talk.
Yep, and it should just be about a Yank who comes and steals an Irishman's six-pack of Beamish, and then all hell breaks loose, and the rest of the movie is them trying to kill each other.
Coming over here, stealing our women, taking our jobs. Yeah,
that too.
The thing is that stuff I appreciated more than, like, when it goes brutally violent. I think that's when it's at its best. Jimmy Benet is in this as well, we should mention.
Yes. So happy to see him.
There's a scene early on with someone being force-fed gasoline, and I'm thinking, this is very Island of Death.
Yes. I thought so too.
And then another one, where someone's face gets blown off, and then the guy with his bloody hand smokes a cigarette, and all the kind of random, really out of nowhere, nasty violence. That's all fine. Yeah. But then it goes all chirpy Irish music.
The music is terrible. It's not just bad Irish music. It's like bad children's, like plinkety plinkety plink, like music. Like it's like a sneaking around scene in like a Saturday morning, like a bad Saturday morning cartoon.
Right. And it accompanies like car chases and
it's totally incongruous, that stuff. Now this is, however, a part of Ireland that does apparently have, you know, the guards in it. There are actually police.
They have got one detective who insists on having her teapot brought to the crime scene.
Yes.
Which I guess is supposed to be funny. I don't know. It's difficult to tell what is and isn't supposed to be funny. I mean, the whole setup, for a start, is that Don the Dragon Wilson is, I don't know what he does now, but he's a former kickboxer.
Yes.
Who's been online dating.
Yep.
With Eileen McCluskey.
Yeah, who's not. I mean, she's, you know, of the two ladies in the film, and most people, most reviews I've read of this, most people are like, why didn't he just get with
Hillary Kavanagh,
Siobhan, because she's a far more Genki seeming girl than Alice is.
Yeah, I mean, well, apart from that, it's such an odd setup, like to get him over there, right? Like the
internet dating thing. Yes.
Yeah. Well, it's funny though, because they play it up as if it's something quite weird and unusual, where I suppose it's a lot more common.
Yeah.
Now, I suppose it would have been a lot more strange and notable. It just doesn't seem. It just doesn't seem like they've been dating online for the past few months.
Yes.
So he turns up. And that is basically amazing as that may seem. The plot is Don the Dragon Wilson comes to Ireland to get his end away, accidentally picks up a six-pack of Beamish, which has some nuclear detonators in it, and the bad guys try and get it. And that is literally the plot of
that's the movie.
Moving.
Yes,
Another generic type. There's at least another dozen moving targets.
Oh yeah,
right.
But yeah, so any scene where it's two people fighting over the six-pack of Beamish was good as far as I was concerned. I mean, Beamish, it's funny, Beamish is from Cork, I believe, or so it is a proper, it's like Murphy's, Guinness, and Beamish are the three.
Yeah, you don't get it. I never see it here. I never see Murphy's and I never see Beamish in Japan. You see Guinness and you see Caffrey's, right?
Right.
But you never see Beamish or
so Murphy's was here in Prince Edward Island for a while, post COVID, or it seems to have disappeared. But Beamish is something I've never seen here either. So it doesn't seem to have the reach of.
I actually tried. I did a deep search to try all the liquor stores of the Tokyo area, and apparently we used to be able to pick up 6-packs with widgets of Murphy's, which do me.
Okay.
But not now. Something's happened somewhere along the supply chain. So if you do find a leftover 6-pack, you're in luck indeed. So hopefully that'll change at some point. But I will say, if anyone else in the larger Tokyo metropolitan Saitama, Yokohama area knows of a place to pick up cans of Murphy's reasonably priced,
looking for a supplier,
let me know.
Okay. A Beamish, or not a Beamish, a Murphy's pusher.
Oh, actually, I mean Beamish too. I mean, I'm not overly familiar with Beamish, but I'd probably like it. But Murphy's, yes. I have the taste for. So.
Oh, Murphy's is great. But so there's one scene in this movie though that perfectly encapsulates every possible Irish stereotype in one moment. And there's a scene in this movie where Don the Dragon goes into a pig pen to get a 6-pack of Beamish that has IRA bombs in it. And I was like, okay, that's like the tic-tac-toe of Irish stereotypes. Like,
they're only missing a leprechaun, right?
Yes,
that's the only thing not in there.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, it's fine. It's just funny. It's weird to see, like, the houses all look so, because it's the time period as well. It's kind of like it's Ireland always feels like it's a bit of a time capsule of itself to me. Like stuff that was made in the this is 2000. It doesn't look any different than Ireland of the 1980s to me, right?
So we should probably talk. I mean, I think that's about it for Moving Target. It's just a bit, but not good enough, not along the lines of Fatal Deviation to be really
no.
But it does feed into this. So there's a documentary. It came from CONNEMARA, which is a very short documentary, which is all about this period of time. Where Roger Cormac set up for tax breaks, I guess. He set up a shop in CONNEMARA, which is west of Ireland, is it?
Yes. Yeah.
Right. And he made, I think, about 20 films. Right? Yep. And it's quite interesting for me now to have watched this. The documentary is more interesting to watch than Moving Target, I think, because I do remember this period of time because it would have been after I just arrived in Japan and I would have been renting almost anything that came out in the video store. And some of these films did come out here, and I did rent some of them. And I do remember seeing a few, either New Concord or New Horizons or whatever the fuck they were calling themselves, that film. And isn't that the same house in Ireland as I saw last week in that other film? And I did start to recognize, but I never really dwelled on it too much. But now that it's kind of finite and done and looking back at it, it is kind of fascinating to consider this period of time where
Roger Corman had a studio in the West. Yeah, I mean, I had left, so I was kind of completely oblivious to this until.
And also the fact that, so at least in Moving Target, Ireland is Ireland.
Yes.
But some of the time it's set, it's sitting in for wherever you like, often in the United States, with some crazy attempts at American accents.
Well, see, this is what's funny to me. The most jarring part of Moving Target for me is the grab bag of Irish accents, right? Because this is nominally set in Galway, and yet the characters have Northern Irish accents, Dublin accents,
right? And
rural
it throws you as well, right? Because you're not quite sure. You're also not even sure, like, is that an Irish person?
Yeah.
Or is that an American
doing an Irish accent? Yeah.
I wasn't quite sure where I was at the time. But I think
that's interesting. It's interesting that you would pick up, because I think most certainly anybody in the US would likely not be able to distinguish. Like,
oh,
it's
it
just
was a weird
it's Irish.
mash of people. Yeah.
But to me, it's like if you wait, and this does sometimes happen in low budget movies in the US, where but it's as strange as somebody from Texas,
Right,
and somebody
right,
from the
right,
Bronx,
yeah.
and somebody from California.
I'm Brooklyn born and bred, boy. Yeah, that's
exactly.
Yeah.
And you're like, so yeah.
No, definitely that's shown through to the point that I was just who's who again. I think it's probably only Don is the only American, but yeah,
Yes.
and especially in the bigger picture of all these other films that were made as well, and they did bring over different talents and so yeah. I mean, against
Corbin Burnson I was pleased at like him doing the documentary, and then the outrageous hamminess of the scenes from Space Jacked or whatever the hell it was.
Yeah,
that
he directed as well, right?
Oh, did he? Well, that would explain why he was off the leash completely.
Yeah, I mean, that doc is quite interesting. The whole, how shockingly low the wages were. And,
76 pounds, Irish pounds, for weeks and weeks of work.
James
12-hour days.
directed a movie there called My Brother's War with Josh in it, it seems.
I was blown away by that too.
I would have thought, wasn't Josh Brolin? That must have been a favour to Pops, right? I'm guessing in 2000, Josh Brolin was already too big to have been in a
Roger Corman movie.
Yeah. And you'd get a trip to Ireland out of it, right? So the whole thing is quite fun. And against my better judgment, I found myself thinking, I might watch them all, but I'm pretty sure after 3, I'll be like, no, I'm not doing that.
Maybe you could look at what the best ones are or something, at least. What are the most highly considered or the worst, one or the other?
Well, the one that seems to have been the most controversial, I guess, is this one, Criminal Affairs, right? But that's just that it had some tits in it. It didn't seem overly outrageous.
Yes.
And there's one with David Carradine, right? With the dead cat, the frozen cat.
Yes, that was a great anecdote.
Yeah.
Very, very countryside Ireland. And so what's fascinating to me was, there's this thing that comes out, and it comes out as that goes on, and particularly near the end, there's this whole thing of resentment from Dublin towards this, and the way in which so Corman is a businessman first, right? So he goes to Ireland because he's promised, as the Irish government was very apt to do in those days, basically you can come and be tax-free, and we'll give you big incentives to basically start up a studio here. So he comes to Ireland with that understanding, and then he's approached by the Ministry of the Arts, who says, we'd like you to open the studio in the west of Ireland, and we'll pay you more to do that. And that was interesting. He said Ireland must be the only country where the Ministry of Arts could have more money than the Ministry of Labour, basically.
Right.
And then he's offered even more money if he moves it into the part of Western Ireland where Gaelic is really the first language, right? The Gaeltacht. And so when growing up, to me, the Gaeltacht was where your family sent you in the summertime if they wanted you to have an immersive experience in Irish, right? So you would go and you could go live in these towns, and everyone there does actually speak Irish, basically as a first language. And so that's surprising about this documentary to me, was when it started, and I was like, hang on. They're talking in Irish a lot. And that's distracting to me because I keep expecting that I should understand it when I don't. No. So I kept phasing out and not reading the subtitles and being like, I don't understand. I'm understanding like every 8th word, like August.
The English one.
And.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, the English ones and the occasional connective word.
But it's funny because you think of Ireland as part of the British Isles as well. You kind of wrongly assume there to be, so I speak Welsh to a certain extent, so you always expect there's going to be, for some weird reason, that that's going to help you a little bit, or there'll be a bridge between Irish. But the thing is, to me, watching, because I hadn't seen anything with someone speaking Gaelic for a long time, it surprised me how, to my ears, how Scandinavian Gaelic sounds. Like, it sounds more Scandinavian than Welsh to me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I mean, obviously there's a lot of Scandinavian influence in our. I mean, the red hair is Scandinavian, right? There was plenty of Vikings and in Ireland over the centuries. But the other things, but Scottish Gaelic and Irish Gaelic are much more transferable, right? Spelling wise, grammar wise.
But they sound so different. I guess it's an accent thing, but they sound so different. Like somehow. Yeah.
Whereas Welsh truly, I mean, because the spelling and I there's very little that I can see. Although I know that Welsh is a form of Gaelic, as is Irish, as is Scottish, but they're all quite different. But Welsh seems the most like its own thing to me.
Well, apparently the nearest is Cornish, isn't it?
Okay.
That's the nearest to Welsh. Sorry, I've just.
But I was fascinated to think about all of these American actors on these sets where all of the grips and all of these people are speaking to each other in Irish. Like that's because they have footage from the some of the sets of these things, and that's what's going on. You have people shouting back and forward in Irish,
right?
On making an American movie. It's just a weird thing.
They did also regret. I mean, it's not really anything to do with the film, so I suppose maybe they didn't necessarily have to bring it up, but when they do the potted history of Roger Corman at the beginning, and they mention his first excursion to Ireland, so he made that movie Von Richthofen and Brown,
right,
which was his kind of retirement picture until he came back years later to make Frankenstein and Bound. But they don't mention it. I guess one of the main reasons that he gave up directing was some stuntmen died while making that film. I noticed they didn't bring that up.
Right.
Yeah. Sorry, I just had to ruin the party. The piece.
Yeah. I mean, I was pleased that he was in the documentary.
He always makes a good account of himself, Roger Corman. Like he doesn't come across. He's great, isn't he? Because on the one hand, he never contradicts the fact that he's a full-on capitalist.
Yeah.
But also, he's so not the cigar chomping Hollywood mogul either, right? He's very kind of soft-spoken and clearly smart, well-educated fella. Comparable in that way. I tell you what reminds me of him is Herschel Gordon Lewis.
Yes.
They both have that going on, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Very smart, well-read, kind of cultured men who made trashy great movies.
But also not making any excuses for themselves,
right? No. Like this is and Dementia 13 was shot in Ireland. I don't think I knew, and I don't know that that came up early on. That was Francis Ford Coppola's first movie, but it was made in that earlier period of Irish.
Yeah, I think that is set in Ireland as well, if I remember.
Yeah, I think it is. Although I haven't seen it. I don't know if I've ever seen it.
I haven't seen it for a very long time, but I definitely have seen it.
Yeah.
So there we go. Fatal Deviation. See it. Target. Maybe not.
Probably not.
It came from Connemara. Quite interesting.
Yes. Yeah.
Probably the least painful way to kind of imbibe of this selection of movies without having to actually
watch them.
Go out and watch any of them.
Yes. Yeah. And interesting too that it seemed like a lot of the people who worked for them, although they were ruthlessly exploited in some ways, all of them seemed to be totally fine with it and were like, how else were we going to get experience? There was not much work in Ireland at the time, and well,
I don't think I mean, it seems as if they didn't go around it in a particularly surreptitious kind of. I don't think they were out to trick anyone. I think it was pretty front and center from the beginning. You're going to work for shit wages, long hours. Yeah. How about it?
And I think Lloyd Kaufman, pushed that even maybe further. That whole notion of like, because I mean, the whole idea of like people having to hide when Roger Corman would come to the set, because if he saw you
What are you
standing
doing?
around,
Yeah.
you were fired, or
Or
immediately
made to
given
do
another
double
job.
duty or something. Yeah.
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 And that reminds me
I'm
very much
sure
of
there is a side of Roger Corman which is slightly less nicey nice than you see in documentaries where he's a talking head. But
that made me laugh, because I thought that seemed very Lloyd Kaufman as well. That thing of like why am I paying you? Like,
well, yeah. If you've ever seen any of the, again, when you've seen any of the behind the scenes footage of lovable Lloyd Kaufman is clearly a total monster on set.
Yeah.
To the point of making Lemmy from Motorhead cry about
Yeah.
the set of
That
Romeo
seems-
and Juliet.
Yeah, that's bizarre.
Anyway, there we go. I think that's it for this time, isn't it?
I think so. You killed my father.